You're listening to the Dibbly Dobbly podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram.
Now then, we move on from Australia and we move on to talk about England and talk about England's Champions Trophy chances for 2025. Their captain is Jos Buttler. They have not won an ICC Champions Trophy, England. The Champions Trophy in 2017, they finished in the semi-finals of that home tournament, which was held in England. The squad that they've selected England is as follows: Buttler, Banton, Brooke, Duckett, Root, Salt, Smith, Cass, Livingston, Overton, that's Jamie Overton, Archer, Atkinson, Mahmood, Rashid, and Mark Wood wraps up the squad for England. So England, what can we say about England? They come in under pressure into this tournament, into this Champions Trophy. Their ODI form since the 2023 World Cup hasn't been flash. Jos Buttler is under pressure as captain. Pressure on Brendon McCullum, who's recently taken over the ODI and T20 side of things as coach. He's under pressure because since he's taken over, England have not performed well. Looking to try and introduce Bazball into the ODI setup, which has not worked for England of late. The last two ICC tournaments for England have been poor. The Cricket World Cup in 2023 in India was a poor tournament. The T20 World Cup last year, they made it to the semi-finals, but they sort of weren't convincing on the way to the semi-finals there, England. They were really poor in that tournament. Even though they made it to the semi-finals, they were still poor. They recently lost 3-0 to India in that ODI series in India, so that doesn't bode well going into this tournament. And since 2023 in ODIs, they've played 32 matches. They've won 13. They've lost 18. They've had no result. So it's a bit of a mixed bag for England in terms of the up and down nature of their one-day cricket. I suppose in a good news, Joe Root returns to the ODI squad for the first time since the World Cup 2 years ago in India. He's definitely going to be an important cog with the bat for England in terms of providing stability in the batting. And also him and Adil Rashid are probably going to be the two important players for England in this tournament. Obviously, Joe Root with the bat, providing stability and a sense of reassurance with the bat, making sure that England don't lose their way. And you've got Adil Rashid. He's probably going to be the important bowler in this tournament for England. He's a very good leg spinner, as we know. He has a pretty good record in one-day cricket. Going into this tournament, the other bowlers have struggled, like Gus Atkinson, Cass, Jamie Overton, Jofra Archer's getting back into the groove of things after injuries, Mahmood sort of finding his way back into the international setup. So their bowlers are a bit up and down. Mark Wood as well, coming back from injury, and also doesn't really tend to bowl well in the subcontinent, tends to leak runs. We saw that in the World Cup 2 years ago with Mark Wood, tends to bleed runs and leak runs. So Adil Rashid would be very important in terms of their bowling prospects. But really, I don't really see England performing well, just with their form at the moment. It doesn't seem to be clicking, gelling. You've got Brendon McCullum, who's come in as coach, trying to get Bazball into the one-day side. Bazball, white ball version has not really worked out thus far for England. So they've got some problems with their batting. We saw that in the India series where they struggled with the bat. The bowling side of things wasn't really effective. Buttler's captaincy is questioned in terms of, is he really a captain in one-day cricket? Probably not. But who else do you have to take over the mantle? So they have a lot of challenges, England. I do see them struggling in this tournament. But with England, I suppose, there's only one way to go about it, and that's go out there and hope for the best and see what you can do. If you can, pull out some wins here and there, that's a good result. But really, I don't think anyone's really expecting England to go into the business end of this tournament. They've got a lot of challenges and they've got a lot of questions to ask. They haven't got the answers to those questions. So they have to answer them pretty quick. Otherwise, this tournament could be over probably after the first two games, because you can't really afford to lose one game, let alone two, in a Champions Trophy. You only play 3 games, and if they lose 2 games out of the 3, that's pretty much it. So they do go into this tournament under pressure, England, and there is a lot of questions and a lot of pressure. If England don't do well, probably Jos Buttler will probably be sacked as captain. That usually is how it goes when you have a poor tournament. And probably England will probably look elsewhere in terms of their one-day team. This is probably the last straw for England in terms of their one-day cricket. They haven't really performed well since Eoin Morgan retired. And since they had him at the helm, they haven't been the same since they won the 2019 World Cup in England when they defeated New Zealand in that epic final at Lord's. They haven't been the same. So, yeah, pressure on Buttler, probably the pressure of his job as captain. Brendan McCullum probably won't lose his job as coach, but he will definitely have more pressure if England don't start winning. So a lot of pressure for England going into this Champions Trophy. They really got to perform well, but I don't see it happening. I don't think they'll probably qualify for the semis, but if they can be competitive, show a bit of competitiveness, I think that's the expectation from England. But we shall wait and see what happens with England going forward in this Champions Trophy.
Let us know in the comments your thoughts on how England will go in this ICC Champions Trophy for 2025. We would love to hear what you have to say.